Good evening, everyone. Good evening. It is Wednesday, May 29, 2019. Yes, it's one of the last May days for 2019. How are you? Thanks for stopping by. I'm Dave. This is Let's Have a Chat. Let's Have a Chat. Wednesday is always about my good book, The Walking Leader. The good book. That's where I read from. And today I'm going to talk about Chapter 15, Rule 15. Solicit and act on suggestions. A good leader will always solicit and act on suggestions. A good leader listens to his or her people. A good leader, she stands ready to listen to them and act on what they bring to the table, because you know what? Sometimes they might be there just a little bit longer. They're the ones that are on the front line. They might have just a unique perspective than she cares to admit. But as a good leader, she will admit. It's those bad ones you got to watch out. Those bad managers you got to watch out. And they're out there, folks. They're out there. They exist. So don't think for 1 second I'm all everything's beautiful, butterflies, rainbows, the whole 9 yards. No, there's doom and gloom out there just as well. And for those that have to suffer through that, well, I do. My apologies. But you know what? You're a leader too. You step up. You act. You be the example. Who knows? They might just catch on. So. Here it is, reading from the good book. Rule 15, solicit and act on suggestions. When you work for the state of Texas, the United States Army, or any large organization, change is not something that happens overnight. Usually things are a little different in the private sector. Depending on the size of the organization, change can happen in as little as a couple of hours. The levels of middle managers, committees, focus group, and other bureaucratic nonsense may make change feel like a tire that has a very slow leak. You know the tire is leaking, but you do nothing until, well, you have a tire that has a flat bottom. I feel good knowing that now I actively solicit feedback and suggestions from all of the organization staff that I work with. There are times when we can act immediately, such as when it comes to ensuring that procedures and protocols are in place to further protect the customer's privacies and rights. While working with the state agency, there was some latitude afforded to the local and regional managers, but that latitude is very limited in scope, and implementation had to remain, well, extremely localized. Unfortunately, when something happened that required massive change, the process was long and drawn out. If the reputation of the agency was run through the mud along the way, well, so be it. It was frustrating knowing that change, for the better, was taking so very long to happen, let alone having to be approved to begin to happen. However, that did not stop me from continuing to ask questions or solicit comments, ideas, and suggestions from everyone I encountered in my daily walks. Most people would ask for the moon, knowing full well they would not get what they wanted. I will say this, each and every one of those state employees was glad to have someone care enough to ask for their input and know that someone would move it up the chain of command. It had been a bumpy road, but it is so good to be in a position to make things happen. And making things happen by making things happen quickly is priceless. So soliciting and acting on suggestions involves complete interaction between all parties concerned. To effectively solicit and act on those suggestions, go to the source. In this case, the source are those that are on the front lines, the employees. This should be no problem because you are out there as part of your walks already. Folks, those are the ones that are going to make you and break you, is your employees. You can bang the desk all you want. You can drop the hammer on people, but you know what? At the end of the day, when it's all said and done, they're the ones that are going to make you or break you. You hired them for a reason. You brought them in for a reason. You brought in the managers for a reason. You brought in the people for a reason. Let them do their job. And when it comes time to changing their job, ask them first. Don't be so high up the ladder that you don't see the bottom anymore. And then when you make changes that are going to affect the bottom, are you sure it's going to affect the bottom in the way you think it? Your projections show it's going to affect the bottom? No, you need to be down here. Solicit, talk to the people down at the bottom. Talk to the people in the front lines. Go to where the bullets are flying. And then you'll know. And then you'll know how things are. Then you'll know what the situation is. And then you can better understand why their acts giving you suggestions, why they're giving you feedback, why they are providing you the information that they see will change the way they do things. Now, obviously, sometimes some of the suggestions that they bring will not be, cannot be acted upon. They cannot be brought to fruition. They just cannot happen. And you need to be honest with them. And you need to share with them why it cannot be done. But if there's something that can be done, or you can modify what they're asking for, then let them know, hey, look, here's what I'm bringing to the table. Here's what you brought to me. Here's what I'm going to take to the table. And it might be slightly different, but again, the core is the change that you're asking for. See, as a leader, that's your job. You're their voice. You're the voice of those no one hears, because everybody so high up the ladder starts losing perspective of what's going on or where they've been, where they started. And as you go up higher and higher up the ladder, doesn't mean you get disconnected, doesn't mean you get emotionless, doesn't mean you become a drone, does not mean you become a robot, a cold machine. No, on the other hand, it means that your heart warms up, your heart gets 3 times bigger. And it's not about being weak, it's not about showing too much kindness to someone, but it's about being a human being to those people that are at the bottom, those people that are just starting out, those people that are wanting an opportunity to show you how good they are, and that what they bring to the table matters. Folks, that's why I wrote this book, because there was no answers. There were questions, but there were no answers. I wanted to know how to manage by walking around, and great people, like I mentioned before, talked about it, but there were no rules. Was I doing it right? And the people that wrote about it have been so far disconnected, they weren't going to take time to answer me. They had a lot of intermediaries in between. So what was I supposed to do? Wait for them to give me an answer? Heck, I can't get an answer from one person. I asked the question 2 months ago now, and I'm still waiting on the answer. And guess what? It's a simple yes and no answer. But it's almost 2 months. So do you see what I'm talking about? So if you can't get the answers, you can't find the answers, then you go out and you solicit that feedback. You solicit, get those suggestions and act on them, because it's not going to happen any other way. And you, those of you in the front lines that are seeing this, take the initiative. You don't need to wait for their permission. You don't need to wait for them to come around, because what if they never come around? And then what have you got? You got a head full of suggestions, but nowhere to pass them out. So talk to somebody. Talk to a mentor. Find a mentor and say, hey, look, here's what I bring. Here's what I have. Here's these ideas. What do you think? Just don't come up to somebody's desk and just dump them on there, but say, hey, look, here's what I've got. I've got a question. Who do I need to talk to around here? And then you go from there. So as I was getting back to, act, that's your job. Leaders, that is your job. You solicit that feedback. You solicit the suggestions. You ask for them. You demand them sometimes. And then you act on them. That's all there is to it. There's nothing more, nothing less. That's all there is. Because again, you're going to be their voice. And when they understand and they know and they believe that they're being heard, then guess what they do? They become your voice. And ultimately, as a leader, that's exactly what you want. You want them to be your voice. You don't want them to be repeating what you're saying, but you want them to be a reflection of what you are. You're a good leader. Guess what? They're going to be even better leaders. That's what it's all about. So again, you can hammer, drop the hammer, bang the table all you want, yell, jump, pull your hair out. It doesn't matter. If all you're doing is just demanding and not asking, and asking for feedback. Because again, it's not going to work any other way. Solicit that response. Connect with them at that level, and then you'll see what happens. But again, when they get so far disconnected, you know what? Somebody's got to take the initiative and write the rules, because nobody else is going to answer them for you. So do what it takes. Listen to them. Act on what they say. Be their voice. Folks, my name's Dave. It is Wednesday, May 29, the last Wednesday of May 2019. And I will talk to you tomorrow. Have a great evening. Have a great Thursday. Be safe out there. We'll talk.